following is a Galactic Digital Studios production. This is Sports Central, part of the Closing Tag Network. They're gonna call them the Yetis, aren't they? They're gonna call the hockey team the Utah fucking Yetis, aren't they? Shoot me now, please. Just shoot me now. But, good news for Pelicans fans. You will no longer have the worst sports team name in America. Yay! This is Sports Central, part of the Closing Tag Network. And that is the extent of my take on hockey for today. That is my limit. So there you go. Now switching from one laughable situation to another. Forgive me for a minute while I send out the following condolences to all the fans, bandwagon and otherwise, for the Los Angeles Lakers. Oh, this is the funniest shit. Okay, I had to get that out of my system. Y'all are done. Y'all are fucking done. Oh. I hate to say I told you so. I hate to do it. Well, actually, no, I don't. Never mind. As my cat is looking at me wondering what the hell is going on with you. So, in case you haven't been paying any attention to the NBA playoffs, the Denver Nuggets, the defending NBA champions, are now up 3-0 on the Los Angeles Lakers in the first round. It is very likely by the time this podcast drops, the Lakers will be eliminated from the playoffs. Couldn't have happened to a nicer organization. I'm sorry, but considering the Utah Jazz are not going to accomplish much of anything for the next 5 to 10 years, my only solace in all of basketball is just watching the complete and total demise of the Los Angeles Lakers. It is the one thing in my entire existence as a basketball fan that gives me joy. Because let's face it, the Lakers have had their run. The Lakers have had plenty of runs. There have not been very many times where the Los Angeles Lakers have been, in the lottery or down in the dumps. But it looks like that time is coming very soon. And I say that because, not just because of what's going on in the playoffs against the Nuggets, but also with LeBron. And I'll get to LeBron here in a minute. You already knew the minute I brought up the Lakers that I was going to talk about LeBron. Because apparently everybody still worships the ground that he walks on these days. But whatever. So, the Lakers in this first... Well, let's backtrack a little bit. The Lakers weren't even good enough to make the top 6 teams in the Western Conference. They had to play an additional game just to get in the playoffs. Or as they call it, the play-in tournament. The Lakers' first matchup and only matchup in the play-in tournament was against the New Orleans Pelicans. And myself and everybody else was debating or theorizing that maybe, just maybe, to avoid what we're seeing now with the Denver Nuggets, because everybody knew the Nuggets were a matchup nightmare from hell for the Los Angeles Lakers. Everybody knew the Denver Nuggets were a matchup hell for them going in. So there was theories that they were going to intentionally lose that first play-in matchup against the Pelicans, so then that way the Pelicans would have to play Denver. And then the Lakers would just have to beat either Golden State or Sacramento. It would end up being Sacramento to go get the Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round. Now the Thunder, unlike the Nuggets, don't have the experience. They have the talent, they have the firepower, they have amazing players. Like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is probably one of my favorite players right now, as I call him Shy Guy. Chet Holmgren, if not for Wemby, would be Rookie of the Year this year. I guarantee it. But Wemby is Wemby. So, Oklahoma's got some good stuff. Oklahoma's got some good players. But they don't have the experience that Denver has. Denver's got that championship experience going for them. So, it's a sound strategy with one flaw. What happens if you intentionally lose in the first play-in matchup and then unintentionally lose in the second one and then miss the playoffs altogether? So it's a catch-22. But the Lakers ultimately decided, no, we're just going to win this game against New Orleans. We're fine. We'll play Denver. We'll play anyone. And look where that's gotten them. First game, they were up as many as 12. I think they were up by 12 at the half in Denver, and they lost. They were up by as many as 20 in game 2, and they lost. They were up by as many as 12 last night on their home floor at Staples Center or Crypto.com Arena or whatever they're calling it these days. And not only did they lose, they lost by as many as 8. If you watched any of the games, if you watched the highlights, if you watched, really anything pertaining to this whole thing, you can see that the Lakers have basically given up. Especially last night. Especially in Game 3. They've essentially given up. I mean, there was one point during a timeout where D'Angelo Russell, their starting point guard, basically was sitting on the other side of the bench, clear over there. Pretend I'm like LeBron or Coach Darvin Ham or something like that. I'm sitting here, and D'Angelo Russell's like clear down there, like on the other side of this door, and maybe a couple rooms down that way. That's where D'Angelo Russell's head is. He's already gone fishing. And he's not the only one. Rui Hachimura, who I've sung Rui Hachimura's praises even as far back as his days in Washington. Rui Hachimura's checked out. Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves, even though he fought like hell towards the end there, it felt to me like, a hollow effort. Basically the entire team's checked out. Except for LeBron. And even he's debatable. Again, I'll get to LeBron here in a minute. AD is basically doing everything he can. But if you really think about it, the Lakers' strategy has not been a good one. They end up coming out of the gate, trying to do everything they can to push and push and push and push and build this incredible lead in the first half. And then by the time the third quarter is almost over, that lead is all but gone. And the whole reason for that is because they're not pacing themselves. And you would at least think that a guy who's supposedly the greatest of all time and supposedly has a wealth of championship experience. I mean, the guy's been to 8 NBA finals. Or is it 9? I can't remember. You would think a guy like that would basically, tell these guys, listen, we have these guys on the ropes. Let's finish them off now so we can go home early. But no. No, we're good. We're going to let them get back in the game and then we'll finish them off. Except one problem. These guys are the defending NBA fucking champions for a reason. These guys swept you in the Western Conference Finals last year for a reason. And your strategy is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different outcome? Help me understand the logic in this. Because I'm not seeing it. I'm flabbergasted and trust me, again, I'm taking great pleasure and joy in watching this team completely fall apart before our very eyes. There are very few teams in sports that I take great pleasure in watching completely fall apart. The Lakers is one of them. The Denver Broncos is another one, and I'll get to them here in a minute too. But it's mind-boggling how just insane this strategy is. And the craziest part of it all is I was listening to Charles Barkley talk about it after game 1, and he practically called the next 2 games. He's like, listen, I'm not even going to bother trying to do a Charles Barkley impression, by the way. Listen, I'm going to tell y'all exactly how this series is going to go. Every single game, it's going to go the exact same way. Lakers are going to go up big. They're going to get overconfident. They're going to get cocky. And then Denver is going to hang around just long enough, just a little bit enough. They're not going to fall behind by like 30 or 40 or anything like that. They're going to hang on. They're going to hang around. And then they're going to flip the switch and off to the races they go. And that's exactly what happened. Because these guys are professionals. The Denver Nuggets are professionals. They won the championship last year for a reason. And considering how badly Boston's butchering the series that they're in right now with Miami, Denver may repeat. Aside from the Boston Celtics, I don't see a single team, Eastern or Western Conference, that can beat this Nuggets team in 7 games. I just don't see it. And especially not the Lakers. So, where does that leave the Lakers? Let's assume by the time this podcast drops that the Lakers are done. That they've been swept or they've been eliminated or whatever. Their season's over. I mean, let's face it. No one's ever come back from down 3-0 in the NBA playoffs. No one. It's never been done before. Out of 151 times that a team has gone up 3-0, all 151 times that team has won. So let's automatically assume the Lakers are finished. Where does that leave the Lakers? They don't have draft picks for the next 5 years or 3 years or whatever. Anthony Davis is not getting younger. LeBron James sure as shit isn't getting any younger. They don't have cap space at all. I mean, LeBron and AD by themselves take up nearly 90% of their cap space. So, what happens next? There's only so many times that you can shuffle the deck chairs on the Titanic before you realize the fucking boat is sinking. So, if it were me, let's pretend that I now have the GM hat on. If I were the GM of the Los Angeles Lakers, number one, it's a pretty sweet paying gig. Number two, I'd hate life right now because I'd have to deal with LA traffic. Unless I'm telecommuting. And number three, I start over. I tell every single player, yes, even LeBron and AD. I tell all of them, it's been fun, guys. It's been a pleasure. But y'all are going to get traded. Y'all are fired. Bye! What I wouldn't be doing is entertaining the thought of using a first-round pick in the upcoming NBA draft on some 19-year-old kid from USC who's only scored 5 points a game in his college career just because his name is Bronny James. Yeah, that's happening. Apparently. According to several insiders, the Lakers are contemplating using their first-round pick to draft LeBron James's kid Bronny. Never mind the fact that virtually every GM in the entire league, other than the Lakers GM, Rob Pelinka, is all saying he's not ready. Noobs and dweebs and sideline geeks like myself, who don't have nearly the accolades or the credentials of a Danny Ainge or Rob Pelinka or a Sam Presti or a Brad Stevens or any of these guys in the league, even we can see this kid is not NBA ready. He's not even G League ready. And they're going to waste a first-round pick on him? Let me backtrack. Let me correct myself here. Rob Pelinka, is not wasting a first-round pick on Bronny James. Let's call a spade a spade. LeBron James is wasting a first-round pick on Bronny James. LeBron James is the one that's calling the shots in Los Angeles right now. LeBron James is the one that is going to get Darvin Ham fired after this season is over, if he isn't already by the time this podcast drops. LeBron James is the one that's going to trade D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves and all these other guys for DeJounte Murray or Trae Young or any of these other superstar players, like it's going to fucking matter. Again, I'm taking great pleasure and joy in watching the Lakers completely implode from within. But we have to call it the way we see it now LeBron James, and I've said this repeatedly to everybody that's willing to listen, past my criticisms of the guy. LeBron James is the most athletically gifted scorer. No, scratch that. The most athletically gifted athlete I have ever seen in my entire life. And I'm old enough to remember Bo Jackson. I'm old enough to remember when Deion Sanders wasn't a meme. I'm that old. And LeBron James trumps both those guys in terms of pure athleticism and talent. But as a competitor, as a teammate, as someone that's helping build teams, he is a cancer. He is toxic. He has become the very antithesis of a winning player. That is why Lakers fans don't view him as the greatest Laker of all time. There are some Lakers fans that will still, to this day, argue that Kobe Bryant is the greatest Laker of all time. And I do not disagree. As great as Shaq was, as great as Magic was, as great as Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and all these other guys were, I think Kobe Bryant is probably the one player out of all of them that if I looked across the court and I saw him, I'd be like, well, fuck, we're in for a long night. I don't get that vibe from LeBron. I don't get that vibe from this Lakers team. And clearly, the Denver Nuggets don't either. LeBron James is doing more harm to the Los Angeles Lakers than he is good. As much as he was helpful in bringing the Lakers their 17th NBA championship, as much help as he was in allowing them to win the inaugural in-season tournament, which is still a fucking joke and is now becoming an even bigger joke now that we're seeing what we're seeing, because I still think some of that residual damage from going all out on the in-season tournament is starting to show. LeBron James is doing more harm than good. And it's time for the Lakers to realize this. But they're not going to. Because what are their other options? Suck for the next 4 years? I mean, we're seeing how well that's going for Detroit. We're seeing how well that's going for San Antonio. Well, at least San Antonio has a first-round pick in Wemby, Victor Wembanyama. But that's about all they have to show for it. What are their options? Suck for the next 4 years and hope and pray that, someone that's coming up in free agency will actually say, hey, you know what? I remember when the Lakers were good. I remember when the Lakers were, the dominant franchise, the most storied franchise in the NBA. I'm going to go play there. That's their only other option, other than just suffer for the next 2 years of LeBron James. And now apparently him playing softball dad, or LeVar Ball, or whatever analogy you want to use, in getting his son drafted in the first round by the Lakers. I mean, granted, the draft class this year is a little bit light. It's a little bit weak. But I don't think it's weak enough that you can justify wasting a first-round pick on a guy that can't even score 10 points in a college game. If D'Angelo Russell is getting thrown repeatedly under the bus by LeBron and by the media for putting up 0 points in a must-win game in the playoffs, what the fuck do you think is going to happen to Bronny? And no, I would not put it past LeBron James to throw his own son under the bus the minute he doesn't perform. I would not put that past him at all. So, what can you do? Other than take it, like it, and say thank you, may I have another. Bust out the brooms, guys. Denver's going to move on. And apparently it looks like it's going to be Denver and Minnesota in the second round. That's going to be entertaining, actually. I'm going to enjoy that. Jokic versus Gobert. Let's go. I'll take it. My predictions from, when the play-in was starting still stand. I've still got Oklahoma City, Dallas, Denver, and Minnesota winning their respective series. In the West, I've still got Boston, Cleveland. Okay, I take that back. I had Philadelphia, but with Embiid hurting, I don't know. I'm going to have to go with New York. But I still have Milwaukee winning their round, or their first round matchup against Indiana, even though they're looking shaky too. The East feels more wide open than the West. It feels to me like the West it's Denver and everybody else. I said the same thing, if you remember, about the East and Boston. Boston doesn't look as invincible as they used to. Certainly not as invincible as they were 2 weeks ago. Could it be Cleveland? Could it be Miami? Could it be Boston? Could it be New York? God forbid. Do you imagine the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals? We'd never hear the end of it. Not from the media and not from Knicks fans. We would never hear the end of it. And especially not from James Dolan. But switching gears, who watched the draft last night? I don't know what the fuck's going on in Atlanta. I don't know what they're thinking, paying $100 million for a starting NFL quarterback and then using the 8th overall pick on his replacement. Granted, the replacement's going to take a couple years. But still, I get the NFL is a business. I get the NFL is very much a next man up business. I mean, we're seeing it now in Denver. But $100 million for a guy, and then you draft his eventual replacement with the 8th pick overall. You don't bother going to get, some offensive line help. You don't bother getting a tight end. There was a really good tight end, Bowers. I can't remember his name. Brock Bowers, I believe it was. That ended up getting drafted 5 picks later by the Las Vegas Raiders. You couldn't have used that pick on him? Give Kirk Cousins some more weapons? And then that pick kind of threw everything from 8 on down into complete chaos. And the complete chaos resulted in the Denver Broncos using the 12th pick overall on Bo Nix. Now, as I've told Broncos fans on my personal Facebook page for the last 24 hours, I don't hate the pick of Bo Nix. I don't hate it. You need a good young quarterback who's cheap. especially now when you're as cash strapped right now as the Broncos are, having to pay all that money just to watch Russell Wilson go play somewhere else. You need that. But 12th overall for Bo Nix? You couldn't have traded down. You couldn't have traded that 12th overall pick with, say, Kansas City or Buffalo or Dallas or someone else, and then take Bo Nix with like somewhere in the 20s. You couldn't have done that? No, nothing. And it kind of goes back to what I said several weeks ago on this very podcast, that Sean Payton's personal vendetta against Russell Wilson is going to cost the Broncos big time. All the Broncos fans, hit up my mentions, hit up my email, Raul@theclosingtag.com. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't think I am. Not in this case. I don't see it. I don't see Bo Nix and Zach Wilson being the saviors. Not when you have an offensive line that has more holes than Swiss cheese. Not when you have hardly any receivers whatsoever. Not when you don't even have much of a running game. Hell, you don't even have any running game right now. And not when your defense is giving up 70 points to the Miami Dolphins, a team that barely made the playoffs, mind you. I don't see it. All the Broncos fans, when I mentioned, when the Zach Wilson trade happened, by the way, they traded for Zach Wilson, in case you've been living under a rock. When they made the trade for Zach Wilson, I basically said on my personal Facebook page, have fun in 4th place in the AFC West, guys. And the whole logic and thinking behind that is this. You still have the Chiefs, who are still essentially the Chiefs. And for all intents and purposes, the threat of them becoming the first ever team to three-peat is very real. You still have the Raiders, who improved dramatically just by getting rid of Josh McDaniels and elevating Antonio Pierce as their new head coach. And now you've got more weapons and more firepower on the defensive end. And now you have Jim Harbaugh coaching the Chargers. Good luck. Everybody in that division is either staying where they are or improving. If anything, the Denver Broncos are taking a step back. Tell me I'm wrong. That's all the time I have today, guys. Thank you for listening to Sports Central, part of the Closing Tag Network. If you are listening to this on Spotify, leave a review. Reviews are open. Reviews are awesome. If you are watching this on Facebook, like, share, comment, share with friends, share with family. What's this idiot talking about? If you are watching this on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. That way you are notified every time a new video drops. I am trying to get more into the habit of dropping YouTube shorts and Facebook reels, so keep an eye out for those as well. And starting this week, for all my peoples out there in Twitch land, twitch.tv/OwlTheGeek. come watch me ramble on live and apparently take notes and messages as I'm recording podcasts from my boss. Yeah, that's the thing that happened. But come watch me on twitch.tv/owlthegeek. Come watch me record live. And I want to thank everyone for listening, for watching, for downloading, for donating, for doing everything you can to help chug this train along. Your efforts are not going unnoticed. So thank you. And until the next time that I drop one of these bad boys, remember to include your closing tags. Thank you. This has been a Galactic Digital Studios production.